Odell Beckham, man. The Giants' name has been brought up for Odell Beckham. Also, the Dallas Cowboys. You look at Odell Beckham, he could absolutely change a team. He could change a franchise. I still think he's capable of going out there and putting up the numbers. I think he would fit best with the New York Giants because they don't have a star wide receiver. Daniel Jones would absolutely look his way. Slayton slowly but surely looking like he's a good number 2, but he's not a number 1. The Giants are definitely missing that. Now that Golladay is still on the roster, I don't understand why he's still on the roster, but they got to pay him because they signed that long-term deal. Dave Gettleman signed that long-term deal, but this team could absolutely use Odell Beckham. What are your thoughts with Odell Beckham? Does he go to the Giants? Does he go to the Cowboys?
I hope he goes to the Giants. I think he'll end up going to the Cowboys. This seems like a very Jerry Jones-like move to be able to bring in the flashy name. Odell Beckham, amidst all the injuries, even getting older, still one of the more popular wide receivers in the league. So we know the Cowboys, they love all the flashy players. They love to get all these big free agents. But yeah, I agree with you. I think his opportunity would be better on the Giants because he'd be the number 1 receiver right away. He has a chance to elevate himself back into the receiver he was and back maybe to get another good contract. I mean, he's not going to get the contract like he got with the Giants or even like he got with the Browns again, but at least to get more money later in his career and prove himself on a consistency basis, the best chance to do that is with the Giants, with Brian Dable, who's a very good offensive coach, with Daniel Jones, who's taking a big leap this year. His opportunity is going to present itself nicely as that, rather than him being the number 2 or even number 3 receiver in Dallas with CeeDee Lamb as the number 1. And it's still Gallup, who's decent as a number 2. We don't know what kind of role he would serve in Dallas with those skill players around him.
There's a very good chance he can go to the Cowboys, but it would be very fitting if you're a Giant fan to have the great Odell Beckham back on that roster, seeing his number go out there and dancing and doing the things that he does when he came to the New York Giants, when the Giants drafted him at number 12 coming from LSU. So it'd be fun to watch, and it'd be very interesting to see where he goes and his decision on where he's going in the next week or so. The Buffalo Bills game, Josh Allen does not look healthy. He hasn't had a good game. He hasn't thrown over 300 yards in a game in about 4 weeks, which is alarming when you see the type of player that Josh Allen is. This guy was up for an MVP, and he's not the same guy. And some people say he hasn't been the same guy since Huff knocked his arm around against the New York Jets. I think he hasn't looked the same the week before that. You look at this game against a Detroit Lions team that's starting to pick up their game. They won a couple of games in a row. Their defense is starting to play well. They're putting up numbers. They have some good offensive weapons in Brown and Swift. You're seeing that the Lions are figuring things out. And the Buffalo Bills, they lost Von Miller. They lost some pieces over the last couple of weeks. They're not a healthy team. Josh Allen is 100% healthy. The one-time favorites of winning the Super Bowl this year is now fighting so much injuries that they might not even make the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it right now because even with Tre'Davious White coming back this Thursday, he did not look the same. They already lost Jordan Poyer. Micah Hyde's done for the year. You're trusting a lot of rookies and youngsters in that secondary. You mentioned Von Miller, too. If he's out for an extended period, you saw the difference that he's made. They have a lot of good young pass rushers, but none of them are great number 1 pass rushers. Ed Oliver's a good pass rushing defensive tackle, but none of their edge rushers were number 1 options. Once Von Miller came along, these other guys stepped up. Basham, Rousseau, all these guys that they drafted in the first and second round started to stride. Josh Allen, he's battled well considering his injury. You're right. He definitely doesn't look the same like MVP candidate, but I think he still played well amidst the circumstances where he's battling with the injury. He's still running well, still has some good deep throws, but yeah, he's definitely off on his decision making in some games like he's had to force them. As far as that actual game itself, yeah, I think the Lions outplayed the Bills in that game. Just had a lot of bad penalties costing them in that game. Detroit does look really good though. This is the offense they were supposed to be in. It's showing.
You're starting to see the youngsters on Detroit start to show up in the games and put up the numbers that we expected them to put up. Brown's starting to get healthy. Swift's starting to get healthy. They're starting to put up numbers. Defensively, they're starting to play better than they did 4 weeks ago when everybody thought they were going to fire their defensive coordinator. They were going to fire their coach. Now they're starting to believe. And Detroit's still in position where they can make the playoffs. By the way, the Jets have to play them. I don't want to see Detroit right now playing the way they are. So it's kind of scary on what the Lions were 4 weeks ago and what they are today. The Giants game, when you look at this game against Dallas Cowboys, you wanted to see the Giants win this game. It's a divisional game. They lost against Dallas. This was a very important game going into Dallas Thursday, Thanksgiving, where the Giants could have showed up. We've seen Eli Manning do it for years, go into Dallas and win those big games in Dallas. Well, Daniel Jones couldn't do that against a very high-flying power defense. Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the league. He's right now the defensive player of the year. He called out his defense early in the week, and that defense went in and completely shut the Giants Giants down in the second half. And that has a lot to do with the understanding of what they need to do at the line of scrimmage. And the secondary played well. They're not throwing Diggs' way. A lot of teams aren't throwing Diggs' way. They're trying to make the other corners on the other side of the field make plays. And that's been the big difference right now for the Dallas Cowboys. They're playing good football. And the only team they have to worry about in that division right now is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Definitely could tell the wide receiver depth just isn't there for the Giants. Darius Slayton could only do so much, and that's a big reason that they're targeting Odell Beckham right now. They just need that spark because we've seen a blueprint now. Even Detroit, as bad of a defense as they were last week, they shut down Saquon Barkley. So if teams could shut down Saquon Barkley, it really has shown the Giants not being able to move the ball offensively. As good as Dable's scheme is, very inefficient results. Seattle kind of started with the blueprint when they beat the Giants 3 weeks ago. Even a team as bad as the Lions has started to take it on, and now it'll be up to the Giants coaching staff to be able to adjust if Saquon isn't getting the ball the way that he did in the first 8 weeks of the season.
It is definitely going to be fun. These two teams are expecting Odell Beckham to make a decision on one or the other. So whoever gets Odell Beckham could get a gem moving forward in the last 6 games of the season. And then there was the Minnesota Vikings and the New England Patriots. There was one thing that really stood out to me, and that's Justin Jefferson. In his first 3 seasons, 4,248 yards and 22 touchdowns. Jerry Rice in his first 3 seasons had 3,575 yards and 40 touchdowns, which is remarkable and crazy. When you look at Justin Jefferson, he is the closest thing to Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice stayed healthy for many, many years, and Justin Jefferson, fantastic for the Minnesota Vikings. If you remember, a couple of years ago, Minnesota decided to trade Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills for their 22nd pick, and nobody would have thought in their wildest dreams drafting Justin Jefferson that Justin Jefferson was going to turn out to be one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league after losing one of the top wide receivers in the league because he didn't want to play over there with Kirk Cousins anymore. So it's so interesting to see a youngster really develop into the star that he's become and being compared to one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player to play in the NFL in Jerry Rice. And playing the New England Patriots, everybody thought, what do the Patriots like to do? Shut down your best player. Shut down your best option. They could not shut down the Minnesota Vikings' best option in Justin Jefferson. And that was the difference in the game. When he needed to make a play, he needed to go up, double team, triple team, he was making the plays. That really gave the confidence in Kirk Cousins to throw the ball to Thielen, throw the ball to TJ Hawkinson, and make the plays that they needed to hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook, which he couldn't do anything throughout the game because the Patriots like to stuff the running game. So it was a fantastic game plan by O'Connell, who was drafted by Bill Belichick and developed into a pretty good coach.
Yeah, and I think the way he uses all these players creatively, and you mentioned Jefferson, moves all around the field. That was a big difference between his first 2 years, where he still put up the numbers, but he was only really used outside at LSU slot receiver. Now he's playing all over the place, and Kevin O'Connell doing a great job getting him into space. Finally, Kirk Cousins was able to recognize that these other guys are getting open. Hawkinson played better in that second half. Adam Thielen probably had his best game of the season. They even got some of the other secondary targets more involved too, and that's what you need to do to be able to beat Bill Belichick. And I think Kevin O'Connell does a very good job with that. The Patriots have trouble with teams with good receiving cores. They could shut down one receiver if they drop off after that, but Justin Jefferson was able to pave the way for these other guys to play well too, in addition to him playing well too, under 39 yards.
All right, Speedy, let's get into it. Our 3-for-all picks of the week.
So we'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, the over-under 43.5. I'm going to take the Bengals. The Bengals have a matchup advantage here with a run defense that has been strong all year. Derrick Henry is the focal point of that Titans offense, but I think he gets contained in this game. Treylon Burks looks good. Beyond that, the Titans, I don't think really have the receivers to stretch the field against this Bengals secondary. And while their pass rush and their defense has been good, I think the receiving depth for the Bengals has still been strong. So I do think the Bengals will take care of business here.
I got the Titans in this game. And I know the run defense of the Bengals has been good, and everybody keeps talking about Joe Burrow, but the Titans need this game just as much as the Bengals need this game. I think Derrick Henry will put up the numbers. They're going to hand the beast the rock when he needs to. He's going to be able to get the yards that he needs, gets the yards to get him into the end zone at least once in this game. And I think they're going to be able to throw the ball. Tannehill doesn't have the weapons like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones that he had last year, but he has enough, and some of these youngsters have made some pretty good plays over the last couple of weeks. I think they're the better defense. I think they're going to be able to put pressure on Joe Burrow. That offensive line is one of the worst offensive lines in football for the Bengals. So watch out for the Tennessee Titans and that defense. So give me the Tennessee Titans on the under.
Next game, the Atlanta Falcons and the Washington Commanders. The over-under 40.5. I'll go the road upset here. I'm going to take Atlanta on the road. I've been impressed with the way they've played in the fourth quarter this season. I think they match up well here with Washington. Even without Kyle Pitts, I think they can still spread the ball around nicely. The Washington secondary has not been that great. And I do think they have very creative running concepts. Defensively, they're going to get a couple players back in their secondary. They've been bad at stopping the run this year, but I think Washington will have some turnovers too that cost them. So I'll take Atlanta in this game. I will take them on the over.
I'm taking Washington in this game. Heineke is really showing everybody that he is the starter of this team until further notice. He has been the surprise for the Washington Commanders. They can throw the ball. They have McLaurin. They have a good running game in Gibson. Their offensive line's played pretty well the last couple of weeks, even though it's been one of their weaknesses. And their defense has put a lot of pressure on the opponent, and their secondary's played better. I really do like Washington this game. They are the home team. Crowd's going to be crazy. Atlanta, they win a game, they lose a game. They win a game, they lose a game. There is no Kyle Pitts, even though they barely used him this year. And London is not 100% healthy, so I don't trust that team at all. Give me Washington on the over.
Last game, Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles, 46.5 the over. I got the Eagles in this one. I think the Packers' run defense has been just god-awful this year, and I think that's going to be very hard for a team with Miles Sanders. Even Kenneth Gainwell has run well. The receivers have run well, and obviously Jalen Hurts, who's played like a top 3 MVP candidate this year. I just think this is a tough matchup. Now, I think they can run the ball a little bit in the first half, but the Eagles, I think, will kind of take over in the second quarter, third quarter, and make it hard for Green Bay to be able to come back in this game. Christian Watson's looked good as a rookie, but beyond that, they really don't have much with their wide receivers to be able to come back against Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and that pass rush. So I'm going to take the Eagles in this game. I'll take them on the under.
I want to take Green Bay in this game, but the Eagles are the better team. They have the better secondary. They have the better front seven. They have the better offense. They have the better three-headed running backs. I think Aaron Jones is the better running back. I think A.J. Brown and the weapons that they have, it's too much for Aaron Rodgers to compete in this game. I like the Eagles in this game. I have the Eagles on the over. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our three-for-all picks of the week. By the way, shout out to the New York Islanders. Our show is airing after the Islander game. We're happy to be on after the Islanders, and all the Islander fans that are listening, we're very thankful. Keep listening to us. We're very excited moving forward. Our show's been on the network for 2 years, and I hope all the Islander fans are loving our hockey talk.